Does slowing down really help you run for longer? Do runners who slow down enjoy their runs more? Hi, I'm Tara, and welcome to episode number 146 of the Flying RuNR Podcast. In a world that celebrates faster splits, packed calendars, and the constant push to do more, slowing down can feel almost rebellious. But on this episode of the Flying RuNR Podcast, we're exploring how easing off the pace, both on the run and in life, can actually bring us closer to what we love most. Slowing down isn't about losing momentum, it's about gaining awareness. It's about noticing your breath, the rhythm of your stride, the quiet moments that usually get drowned out by noise and urgency. There's a unique joy that lives in unhurried miles, the ones where performance takes a backseat to presence. When we slow down, we give ourselves permission to reconnect and why we started running in the first place, and maybe even who we are beneath the pace and pressure. So whether you're listening to a recovery jog, a walk, or sitting still for once, take a breath with us. Today we're leaning into the joy of slowing down and discovering how it can help us move forward a little more. As you know, we love running and sharing our adventures of running around the world. We are the only podcast with 5 7-star world major marathon runners, and this is the Flying RuNR Podcast. Are you ready to run? Let's go.
It's the Flying RuNR. Run far, run free. Host the 7 stars, inclusive as can be. It's the Flying RuNR for you and me.
Welcome back. Before we change gears and slow things down, let me introduce you to my co-hosts tonight. We've got Lucia, Tony, Tim, and of course Peter, who has just completed her 2nd marathon in the past few weeks in Ballarat. How did it go for you, Peter?
Hi guys, great to be back with you. I'm literally fresh off the plane from Melbourne, and I can't believe how good I feel actually. It was a great city to go to. It's a fantastic running city. They have a park that's part of the marathon course, which is just like Centennial Park with like lots of long pathways around it. And they've also got Lake Wenduri, which has a 6K loop around it too. So it's a beautiful spot for running. Race day was very warm, unexpected. It was 25 degrees. So had flashbacks to Boston 2 years ago. And it's a very late start. It's 8 o'clock. So I'm still out there running past 1 p.m. So it was a little bit hot. Felt great on the first half loop, and it was a great atmosphere. You know, we started with the half marathoners, as most Australian events do, and it was a really scenic course packed with spectators. And that was great. There were spectators in some of the tough spots where you needed them, where it was less busy. Great aid stations, plentiful. There were toilets all around the course. And something I haven't seen before, they had fixed gels at every single aid station. And they also had people handing them out on the course. So unfortunately, I don't like those gels, otherwise I could have filled my bum bag. But the electrolytes were good, no problems with supply, amazing volunteers. And in fact, really the only thing I've got to complain about besides the weather was the uphill start. It's quite a long stretch, maybe at least 500 to 800 meters uphill from the start line. And of course, we have to do that twice as on the marathon course. So the first time it was okay, it's right at the start. But the second time you run around past the finish line and the half marathoners peel off, which was a little bit cruel. And I thought, geez, I wish I had have signed up for the half. So we had to keep going up the hill by ourselves. And pretty soon after that, by the time we got back to Victoria Park, it was about 25K in, and I just started to really lose my energy. Like that heat and the sun really sapped, and that second hill sapped all my energy. So I pretty much walked run to the finish. I met some some other lovely runners on course, and they really helped me through. Excuse me. And then it was a great downhill to the finish. So I must admit, I did enjoy that. And I even had to stop for a fire engine that was coming out of the station. So that was a first. But there was heaps of on-course support around the Central Business District, and people were cheering you like crazy into the finish line. So 2 out of 2 done. I'm ready for a rest, and I'm going to have a nice break now till Gold Coast in July.
Excellent. Well done on your 2 marathons in 3 weeks. So
yeah, I don't recommend it, guys.
And Lucia, you did something pretty special over the weekend as well. Tell us about your race.
So I did the Runaway Sydney Half Marathon at the new and upcoming Western Sydney International Airport, which is yet to open. It's opening later on this year. So they put on a series of events. You could do 7K, a 14, a half marathon, then there was a 4K, then there was a family walk. So first time, like only opportunity to run on a runway when it's non-operational, because it will never happen again. But for our viewers and listeners who listened to our last episode and my disaster in Wollongong, I'm happy to say I did my pre-race poop. So I was very happy. So I knew it was going to be a great day, and I finished. I wanted to come in under 3 hours, because that's all I want, because it did start to get hot as well, because we were meant to start at 8. We didn't get over the start line till 8:30. There were a few minor issues, but that, from what I've been told, that was due to the restrictions that Elite Energy had from the airport itself and the AFP in terms of running the event. So nothing bad against Elite Energy, because they do some amazing events, but it was more the restrictions which were placed on them. So as I said, wanted 3 hours, 2 hours and 59 minutes and 59 seconds. Thank you very much. I'll take that. So it was really good. Did it with Terry, who I've paced with a couple of times, and we just had fun. But again, great aid stations. There was one aid station which had electrolyte water and Red Bull. We said to our mate at the Red Bull stand, I'm like, are you going to have vodka in it? He goes, I'll do it for the last lap. It's like, mate, where's my vodka? He'd let me down. But having Red Bull during a race, can I tell you, it does give you wings. So any race organisers, if you want ideas for what to put on an aid station, do it. So it was really cool being able to run on the tarmac. Wasn't flat, I can tell you that, and to see the airport before it opens. But yeah, that can be a discussion for another time, because I thought it'd be bigger, the airport, and I can say this hand on heart. I am an Eastern Suburbs snob, so I live pretty much in the centre of Sydney, Western Sydney International Airport. It took me an hour and a half to get home. I can probably say I'll never fly out of that airport, because I've got the main Sydney airport about a 15-minute drive from home. So I was all things considered, with how my training has been over the past couple of weeks, very happy. I think it's given me the confidence that I need for GC.
Excellent. Good to hear. And Tony, how's your knee going? Have we done some running again?
No, we didn't do anything over the weekend. It was rainy. It was miserable. It was grey. So we just watched TV. So, yeah. So, but Sharon and I do believe we need to start running again. So, and we will. So, but didn't really have a lot happening over the weekend. I do have some feedback from our UK correspondent, Mark, and I really do appreciate. He gives us quite a lot of detail. But he was telling me that the only race that London dominates. So he's a Manchester lad, and London dominates, and he says nothing beats the Great North Run. It's pretty special, he was saying. But very interesting, he tells me that he would rather see his family on course than have crowds and crowds of people cheering him on. So that was something we actually didn't discuss a great deal last week, but I thought that was really interesting. I'd take seeing my family once on course over the course being lined from start to finish with people I don't know. So Very, very interesting. And he was a little bit like Tim. He's sitting both sides of the fence. He likes the crowd atmosphere, but a quiet trail run with a couple of friends is what he would consider bliss. So there we go.
Excellent. And Tim, how was your weekend? Well, our weekend, I guess, was
Our weekend was good because somebody had a birthday, didn't they, Tara, on Saturday?
Yeah.
somebody did have a birthday, yes.
And what did somebody do on her birthday on Saturday at Parkrun?
I ran Chermside Parkrun, which, if anyone's run it, it's not the flattest course. It's not an overly hilly course, but it's quite undulating. And I managed to finally get a sub 30 5K, which has taken me a while to get to. It's been probably 2 years since that time. So the year leading up to the pacemaker surgery, obviously I was too unwell to be running that speed. And since the pacemaker surgery, it's just a case of building back up again. So finally getting to that point where I'm quite happy. So I think it was 29:50. No, 29:30 is what I ended up. So slowly getting there. I was very lucky. I had a friend of ours, Wale, who sat with Tim, ran with Tim and I, and paced us to a very, very nice time. So very happy with that.
It must be good coaching, Tara. It must be finally having some good coaching that's really improving your running, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Nicole, who we had back on, I can't remember which episode it was, several episodes ago now, is my coach, and she is very, very good at what she does, obviously. So very happy with that. And
Awesome.
we managed to have a rest week on a long run or Sunday as well, didn't we, Tim?
Yeah, we tried this new thing. It's something a bit different. It's called what's it called? Walking. We tried that for a little while.
I think you can be tolerated for the walking part, apparently. So we wanted to give it a try. Yep.
Yeah, no, we did. We just went for a 5K walk yesterday in the rain. Oh, it wasn't even raining. It was misty, I guess, a little bit misty. But no long run, just resting the legs, resting the body, particularly after Tara's PB and her birthday celebrations. So, yeah, that was that. Now, the other thing is, Lucia, your suggestion of Red Bull. I know it may have felt good, but I would struggle with it because it does raise heart rate and blood pressure, and that's probably not a good thing when you're running. So I'd just be cautious of a run, just to be mindful of it.
Yeah, it was literally and just for clarification, it wasn't a whole can of Red Bull each time I went past. It was literally just 2 or 3 sips, and that's it. And then what made it good was it was cold Red Bull. And then when we crossed the finish line, before getting a bottle of water, we got a can of Red Bull.
Again, just need to be careful. Yeah, just need to be careful. Just some other news quickly before I get to the main news later on. We've had some runners competing overseas in the last week or so. We had Boston, a number of our listeners, Anne-Marie, Bill Troy, they got their 6-star medals, as did former guest on the show, Michael Walton, back in episode, 10 or something like that. And in addition, Jen Kellett won her age category in Boston. So she won Tokyo and she won Boston, which is phenomenal. And then yesterday we had London Marathon, and a couple of our listeners were there as well. Brian and Monica were running in Boston, as was Namalka were running in London, and as was Namalka and Saminda. And a future guest we're going to have on the show, Karen, was all running in London yesterday. And by all reports, fantastic. Congrats to Brian and Monica, who both achieved PBs in the marathon. So well done, guys. So yeah, that's what we did, and that's what's happened, I guess. Back to you, Tara.
Excellent. Thanks, Tim. So as I'm hosting this week, it's that time of the week where we talk trivia, but I won't be doing it. So Lucia, we've passed it over to you this week. So let's see how Lucia does with Lucia's trivia.
I've got to say I'm quite proud of this one because I'm like, it's got to be something different. So it's an icon of Australian running. The first clue. We've all met all the hosts of the podcast, and a lot of our guests have all met this icon of Australian running.
So it's a person.
Is it socks?
You'll just have to wait for more clues, Tony. I'm not giving anything away yet.
Is it a person?
You'll have to wait for more clues. I'm not giving anything away yet.
Tough.
Nice. Excellent. Thanks, Lucia. So that's something to ponder. All right, Tim, let's go over to the news. So, Tim, what's been happening around the world this week in the news?
Okay, so I mentioned Boston. We had Boston in the results that happened in Boston, which seems so long ago now. It was only this time last week we were tuning into Boston and getting ready to tune into it. But John Carrera won the elite men's race in a new course record time of 2:01:52. It's the fastest time in history there, and he successfully defended his 2025 title. He shattered the previous course record of 2:03:02. So he beat the previous record by well over a minute, and all of the top three men finished under 2:03, which is a first in Boston history. Alphonse Felix Simbu from Tanzania finished second with a time of 2:02:47, edging out Benson Kipruto from Kenya, who placed third in 2:02:50 after a tight battle through the Newton Hills. In the women's elite race, Sharon Ledecky from Kenya claimed back-to-back titles, winning it with a time of 2:18:51, pulling away decisively in the final kilometres. Loisi Chumnung from Kenya finished second in 2:19:35, and Mary Nguki Cooper from Kenya rounded out the podium in 2 hours 20, underscoring the Kenyan dominance in the women's field. And, it was great to see the 130th Boston Marathon. It was in pretty ideal conditions. It was a lot tactical this year. There was a lot of racing between each of the individuals there. And it was good to see. And by all reports from everyone who went there, it was a good event. I think the only thing that went wrong on the day was some of the buses were a bit late getting out to Hopkinton. I understand as a result of that, they moved the finish time back to 5:36 p.m. Gave it an extra 6 minutes. And I think I also had some extra waves, which meant that the start time sort of moved out a little bit as well. So that was Boston, guys. What were your thoughts on Boston?
Well, I think Tony was pretty grateful he didn't have to say those names this week.
Yes, Boston, I found 2:01 in Boston. It just blew me away. So congratulations. What a great race. But it's interesting, ideal conditions at Boston, and then I know you're talking about London in just a minute or two, but ideal conditions again in London. So, a couple of years of not ideal conditions, and I think we're seeing the results.
Looked like perfect weather, didn't it, in Boston? You can't get much better than that. It's probably the best we've seen in the past decade. So great day for those who were running it. And it looked like, that the crowds were so supportive, and there was that great story of the two gentlemen that picked up the runner who had fallen in the finish line and helped him. So it's just great seeing some positive stories come out of that event. It was really exciting.
Yeah. The event itself is actually really inclusive when you see stories like that at the finish line, and that's why it gets so disappointing when major brands do something a little bit different, like we saw this year. The one that I really question, but is that there was a lady who crossed the finish line basically on her backside, and she was dragging herself. And I saw a video of her 1.5 miles from the finish line doing that. And so I have no idea how long she was doing that. And look, I admire the resilience and everything, the toughness that that particular lady showed. But, I'm pretty certain that if it was that bad, that was the only way I could move, I'm probably doing a DNF for my own sanity or for my own well-being. And that one worried me a little bit because I thought, yeah, I think that's a bit too much. But congratulations to her. She got across the line.
I don't know how you get to that point with your body that it cramps up so much that over a mile and a half you can't get it out of your body and at least try to stand up or crawl on all fours or do something other than what she was doing. That one seemed very weird.
Yeah, it did. But, if anyone needed a hand, it was her. But I think also based on the video I saw her a mile away, she was adamant she was going to do it by herself. So, congratulations. But I think I'm out of there if I ever get to that stage. And you've got to think about your long-term health too, I think. So
100%. Now, the big one. This is the one I want to talk about. I'm still on a high from watching this last night. The London Marathon, guys. History was made in the men's race. Kenya's Sebastian Sawe has become the first athlete ever to run a sub-2-hour marathon in an officially ratified race. He won, as we all know, in a time of 1 hour, 59 and 30 seconds, shattering Kelvin Kiptum's previous world record of 2 hours, even and 35 seconds. Second place went to Yumif Kajelka, who also clocked a sub-2-hour marathon. He ran 1 hour, 59:41 on debut. That was his first ever marathon. And in third place came Jacob Kiplimo, who ran with a time of 2 hours, even and 28 seconds. All three of them beat the former world record mark. It was a race. It was a pure race. Sawe took off like he did last year from about 25 Ks around that Canary Wharf area. Keljelka and Kiplimo hung with him, and Kiplimo peeled away and started falling back. He was probably 20 or 30 metres back for most of the run, coming down past the Tower of London and along the embankment. Meanwhile, Keljelka was staying with Sawe all the way. They turned at Big Ben, and as we know from Big Ben, it's less than a kilometre to go to the finish. And they just picked up their pace. They could tell they were going to go sub 2 hours, and they picked up their pace and they just kept on going and going and going. It was fantastic to watch, really exciting to watch it. I only wish that it was freely available on YouTube and we didn't have to try and find people who were broadcasting it illegally. But anyway, that's what was happening. But it was a phenomenal effort. And then in the women's race, Tigist Asafa, my girl, Tony, my girl, she defended her London title and lowered the women's only world record to 2 hours, 15 and 41 seconds, holding off Helena Breary and Joycelyn Jepkosgei in one of the closest podium finishes ever. Again, these three were running by themselves for the last 10 kilometres or so. Over the final kilometre or two, they were running 3 abreast as they'll come in there. And it was really when they came down through St. James's Park and they hit the arch where it says 385 yards to go, that Asafa just took off. And they were already sprinting at that point, and Asafa found another gear and took off. So it's just phenomenal to see that. And then in the wheelchair again, the two favourites won it, Marcel Hug and Catherine de Bruyne. They both won it, completing the Swiss double. So just again, yesterday, guys, was a landmark day with the sport, with multiple world records, ideal racing conditions, and an unprecedented depth. It is already described as probably one of the greatest days in marathon history. And I'm guessing every one of you are rushing out to buy the new Adidas Adizero Evo Pro 3 shoes that the winners all ran in yesterday, all for about $800 a pop, and probably only got 100 kilometres of racing in them, I would imagine. Guys, what were your thoughts yesterday?
Well,
I must admit...
Sorry, Luke.
There you go, Tara.
The price, the amount of money that Selway won for his finisher prize, I don't think he was concerned about the price of his shoes. I know he does get them sponsored and given to him, but I don't think that's his biggest concern. But yeah, I think it's amazing. It must have been a whole weekend of PBs with me. I started it, and the rest of them just followed. That's how I look at it.
Yeah,
Love it.
they heard about your sub 30 at Park Run and said, we've got to lift our game here.
That's exactly it, Tony.
Tara and I, no joke, we were in the living room standing up, yelling and screaming at the TV, weren't we, as they were running down past Big Ben down towards the Mall. We were screaming at both Sarway and Kepchelgar to really just get there and get that sub 2:0 time. And the final half, the second half, Sarway ran it in 59 minutes flat, like for 21 Ks, the back end of marathon. It was phenomenal. Yeah, 2 minute 49 pace per kilometre.
Now, you make a really good point about streaming, because that's something the world majors really need to do a lot better. It's just you get Flow Track, I think, in the US, but even they don't even broadcast to us, and then we've just got to try and jump on some illegal streams. But yeah, I mean, when I first saw the results from this morning, because unlike Tim and Tara, I was not yelling at the TV. I was probably in my head yelling at having to go back to work as I slept peacefully away. But I was blown away, was the only thing I can say. We finally got under that. And I reckon now that we've got someone who's shown us that it can be done, I just look forward to Berlin and Chicago, because who knows where this is going to go. But lost in it was there were two Aussie men in the top 30. Tim Vincent came 17th at 2:09.41. And Liam Bowden came 23rd in a time of 2:12.55. And, you know, when you're looking at 1:59 for the winner and 2:12 for 23rd, I mean, it just...
It's amateur.
Yeah, it feels slow, doesn't it? And I'm not having a crack at Liam, but, you know, that's just the way of the world. And now you look at, say, someone like a Tamarit Tola, who came 5th in 2:02, almost 2:03. It was 2:02.59, and you're thinking, wow, they like many years that would have won London easily. So just blown away.
Yeah, I was saying it last night that the a 2:05 is slow now. It just seems slow when you look at 1:59, and then you look at the amount of people. Like, you've got, you know, the three runners last night all broke Kipton's time. Then Kipton's got the 4th fastest time. Kipchoge's got the 5th fastest time, and they're all 2:01s. And so you look at a 2:05 and you think there's probably 20 or 30 other runners in that time that are in front of that.
Yeah,
it's just
tell
crazy.
them to go run Park Run. So.
Well, speaking of parkrun, I think they said Sarway's 5K split was something like 14 minutes.
Yep, 14 minutes and 12 or something. Or, yeah.
Just to give you an idea, Jack Rayner won the 5K at Ballarat, because I was down there with Jack Rayner and Brett Robinson and Sinead Diver, you know, my friends. And Jack won that in 14:07. So that's just a 5K. So really, Sarway did that, you know, 8 times over and held that pace and did a negative split, didn't he? Like,
yeah,
yes, yeah.
It is crazy.
It is just unbelievable. It doesn't feel real, and even having watched it last night, it didn't feel real at the time.
Defies logic, it really does.
Yes, but you watch everyone else now keep breaking it. And I read something earlier on that said the limit for people might be now around 1:56, 1:57 might be the physical limit we can go, because we all thought 2 hours was the physical limit. So who knows? Who knows? Anyway, that's the news this week. Back to you, Tara.
Excellent. Thanks, Tim. So before we go on to our main topic, which is talking about running slow or slowing things down, because it's not, Anyway, it's time for Lucia to give us our next clue for the night.
Okay, so just to re-jog everyone's memory, it's an icon of Australian running. I believe this icon has several 6-star medals, but don't know how many. So first clue. So
I know
first
who
clue.
it is.
We've all
what
met
it
this. We've all met this icon of Australian running, and I believe this icon of Australian running has several 6-star medals.
Very good,
Would
Lucia.
he own an event somewhere?
I'm not saying anything else. You'll have to wait for the third clue.
Excellent. All right, guys, think about that one. Let's turn our attention now to slowing down when we run. I think I'm safe to say that as we get older, we're finding it easier to slow down when we run, which in turn helps us to enjoy our running a little bit more. So I'll start with you, Tony. Do you actually enjoy running more when you slow down or do an easy run?
It's a really weird question for me because I think most of my runs are at slow run, easy pace. So, yeah, I enjoy my running. So, and most of them are at a slow pace. So, I don't know if that answers your question. It's what I do most of the time. The only time in recent memory that I've really had a crack at doing tempos and pace work and trying to run at certain paces for different periods of time was back in 24, where I was chasing my Gold Coast, having a real good crack at Gold Coast. And I must say I look forward to my slow, easy or comfy days. But at the moment, that's pretty much all I do.
Excellent. Peter, do you enjoy your slower days rather than your fast days?
I definitely do. For this marathon block, I've been doing a plan which tells you what pace to do, and it does involve at least 2 days a week of easy running. And for me, even training for a 5-hour 20 marathon, it was 7:50 something to 8:40 pace per kilometre on those runs. And so I actually found that hard to do, like to slow down that much, especially when I'm running with the dog. But it gave me more time to just have a look around and actually enjoy where I am and the scenery and that sort of thing. But it's not easy to do, but I do enjoy it because you come back and you're not wrecked for the rest of your day.
And Lucia, do you enjoy your running more when you slow down?
A classic example was yesterday. So with the so Terry and I, we did 1 minute run, 30-second walk intervals because Terry's just coming back from injury as well, and it was getting hot. And so when we knew we were going a bit fast on the run interval, on the next run interval, we'd be like, okay, let's just bring it right back and take it in, because we're not going to get the opportunity we did yesterday ever again. So I actually quite like doing it, because if I just need to kind of regroup, or if I just need to settle my mind, because if I've got too much going on in there, I just bring right back. So yeah, I do enjoy the slower, easy runs as much as I do a good hard workout.
Excellent. Tim, what about you? You quite often have to run slow when you're running with me, and even with my parkrun PB, that was a nice, easy, slow run for you. So what about you? Do you enjoy your slow runs when it's not with me, or when it is with me, or what do you prefer?
I like running slow when I'm with you, because I get enjoyment out of seeing you achieve goals. But there's nothing nicer than running really fast and feeling like everything just clicks, and you get to the end of the run and everything's just clicked and you feel bulletproof and wonderful. And like Sebastian Salway yesterday, it just feels everything's right. But running slow does give me enjoyment. I do enjoy it, and particularly when I'm running with you or even other friends who I'm trying to encourage and get a PB, I get enjoyment out of seeing other people do well.
Very good. And I guess, Tony, what would you class as an easy or a slow run? Like you were saying that all of yours are now easy or slow runs. What do you class as an easy or slow run? And has that definition obviously changed for you over the years?
Yeah, I think when Sharon and I first started running, we use the Jeffing method when we run together, and we were pretty consistent around that 1 minute on, 1 minute off sort of scenario, and did that for many years. And now I think when we do slow, easy runs, we adjust it, right? We have less time running, more time potentially walking. So that's the way that I would term our easy runs. If we're just going to go for an easy run, we normally just drop down into a 45-second run and then a minute walk or something like that. That's what we tend to do when we're looking for something a little bit easier. But for me, it's also, like I've only just heard, Tara, that I think you broke your park run 30-minute PB on the weekend. I don't know if we've talked about that enough, but I remember when I did my very first park run with yourself, and I think we're about 34-minute pace for that one. And to me, you talked the whole way around, and I think I kept up my end of the bargain there at times in between gasping for air. So I think an easy run is where you can talk conversationally and you can still maintain some control of your breathing. So,
yep, perfect. That's a good explanation of it, actually, there, Tony. What about you, Lucia? Do you find the same thing? If you are able to talk, it's your conversational pace, that's your easy run?
Probably more, because I find that when I'm doing a faster one, because I'm not the type to normally go at a faster pace, and I sometimes sometimes it can be just the one answer. Sometimes it can be just one answer things. I can't remember what I was trying to say then, but yeah, no, I find that when I'm going slower, I can maintain a good conversational pace because I'm not putting as much effort into my running, if that makes sense.
Yep. Peter, are you the same?
Yeah, definitely. I think you should be able to speak in full sentences, carry on a conversation, which makes that run even more enjoyable. And, while I try not to obsess over zone 2 or things like that, it is really satisfying as your training plan progresses when you can see your heart rate is lowering at the same pace over time. I think that's also a really good sign that it's working.
Excellent. Yeah, and look, I can't comment on the heart rate thing because my heart rate does whatever my pacemaker tells it to do, so I have really no choice on that. So zone 2 can sometimes be when I'm doing 5-minute pace, or zone 2 can sometimes be when I'm doing 9-minute pace. It depends on what my pacemaker's doing for the day. But Tim, I know that you and we have a good chat on our Sunday runs. That's on our date morning where we actually get to catch up with each other as well. So are you the same? You find it more, when I'm not talking, it's obviously not an easy run for me.
Yes. Yeah. Slow runs are easy talking. If you can do slow runs and talk, then it's great. But it's ones where I can take the camera, have a bit of fun, take some photos. I can spin around, run backwards, looking towards you. I can, zigzag all over the course, feel really comfortable, be a bit of a buffoon and just enjoy it. To me, that's what an easy or a slow run is. And yeah, it is zone 1, zone 2, a little bit of zone 3 maybe. But very low heart rate, very easy at the end of it. You could keep running at that pace. You feel comfortable. That's what a slow run is, or an easy run.
Excellent. And I guess, Luch, have you ever noticed specific physical or emotional benefits that show up only when you give yourself permission to slow down?
I think what I find is that if I'm struggling, or sometimes if I think, okay, I'm not going to finish this run, maybe I'm going too fast, I just slow it down because I think, okay, I'm not worried about how long it takes as long as I get it done. So it's kind of, for me, it's like it's okay to slow it down if it's going to help me get to the finish, which means, okay, happy days. Because sometimes if I've pulled the pin, I get angry at myself for pulling it. So that I find for me, by slowing down, not focusing on the time, but just focusing on getting the distance done mentally, that it helps me with that.
And I guess, like we all know, my motto of finish lines, not finish times. Peter, are you in the same sort of thought where you would rather just finish that race, or is your emotional side of things too much competitiveness where you can't really slow down in a run?
No, definitely not. I'm not competitive at all. Even yesterday, I was saying to myself, you know, when I realized I was conking out at about 26K, I thought, you know what? Just walk. Who cares? I knew the sweeper was well behind me. And I just thought, I just want to enjoy this. And then found somebody, Annette, to Jeff with 1 minute on, 1 minute off. And that made all the difference to me. I could talk to her and take in what was happening around the course. And I think sometimes you've got to give yourself permission to do that. You know, if it means you keep going, then that's okay.
Tony, you're the same, I'm assuming, that once you give yourself that permission to get rid of that finish line goal and or the finish time goal, sorry, and just have a finish line goal, does that take the pressure off you and you feel better for it?
Yeah, everything that everyone said makes absolute sense. And but I think the biggest, say, physical thing for me is that if we've had an easy run, you're not buggered for the rest of the day. You can actually get out and do some things. And, you know, mentally during the run, you get to enjoy it a little bit more. Like where we run down at Cleveland here in Brizzy, we have a number of very serious runners, and you get to know them, what sort of a run that they're on. So they're running at pace, or they've got a zone 2 run. And I still remember one guy back last year in the summer when it was really tough and hot. He was running zone 2 and he was barely moving. So much so that I passed him, right? So that's how slow he was going. And but he was meticulous with his zone 2. So you can see the benefits that it has, because people stick to, you know, the concept of running slower and lowering their heart rate to make themselves better in the long term. So, yeah, I think emotional benefits are certainly there, but there's also absolute physical benefits as well.
And Tim, I know that for you yourself, once you've taken that pressure off yourself for running super fast in a marathon and you're happy to run at my speed, you enjoy that run. Maybe it's because you're with me, or maybe it's because you're in stuff. I don't know. But I do know that you prefer that pressure off yourself. Is that right? Emotionally?
Yeah, I love it. I love it more because I'm not as physically worn out at the end of it, I must admit. But there is a thing to note. So running slower will lead to longer term pain-free, injury-free running. But it can take a while for your body to get used to running slow. Your muscles are working differently. The little muscles in your feet, your ankles, your toes, your hips, your knees, they all work differently when you run slower, because you generally are taking a different stride pattern. You're generally running in a more vertical motion rather than a horizontal motion. So as a result, it can take a while for the physical side of it to really pay off, and you will be in a lot of pain when you first start to really slow down, and particularly if you're running with somebody else who is quite slow. But if you do it long enough, like what I've been doing with Tara, there are benefits there. I touch wood, don't get injured all that often from running, and I think a lot of it is because I'm not running a PB every time I go out to run. I'm not running a very fast run. I'm not going out to smash my body. And as a result, I've got longevity. And I think from that then comes the emotional part of it, which is I'm happier because I'm running slower. I get to spend more time with Tara, catching up on things. But at the same time, I really just am enjoying the fact that I'm outdoors and running. It's not about the time. It's not about the clock. And I become happier as a person.
So, Tim,
does that make sense?
It does. So I'll go to the next. I'll skip a question and go to the next one, because what has, apart from running with me, what has changed, or how have you managed that anxiety, or not necessarily anxiety, but feeling guilty for not running fast? If you didn't have me, how would have you managed that if you had to have slowed down?
I probably would have slowed down naturally as I got older, but the mentality would be I should be able to run faster, so therefore I'd be pushing my body to try and run faster, which is what a lot of runners do. As you get older, you try to think that you can run a PB from 10 years ago. And yes, you possibly could, but it does take a lot of effort and a lot of training and to be able to do that. I don't feel anxious or guilty by slowing down. In fact, I actually give myself a fast race or a race when I'm not running with you once or twice a year to target. So I do have target races. I do have target PBs at park runs that I want to achieve each year. But I just don't go out every week or every race to do that. So, last year was an example. I did Brisbane Marathon without you, Tara. I'm running Gold Coast 30 this year. Last year I ran Brisbane Marathon. So I do set myself target races to run without you that I'll try and run faster at. And I know because I haven't done the training or the workload or the pace, I'm not going to do the super fast times, but I have my own goals that I set myself. And that's important.
And Tony, how do you feel with it? I mean, you've run some pretty fast times there in your past as well. And when you don't reach those goals, it sort of becomes a little bit disappointing. But now that you're running a bit slower, how do you cope with that? And you're okay with it all?
I think when I talk about my running and I'm running slow, I talk about relative terms for me. But I think everyone's still got an ego and everyone still wants to hit a certain mark. And as Tim was saying quite rightly, as you get older, you're going to naturally slow down. But I have felt anxious at times, where running with Sharon and me just wanting to get out there because, there's days that I've certainly felt better than what Sharon did. And it has frustrated me to run slow. But the only way that I've been able to manage dealing with that, like Sydney Marathon last year was just Sharon at, I think, the 8 kilometre mark was going to pull out. So the only thing, and that frustrated me because, I was actually feeling pretty good and I was wanting to have a bit of a crack at a relatively decent time. But the reality is we made a commitment, and that's part of the commitment. We run those majors together, so we did. But I think when we're out on the training track, it's slightly different. So we'll make the choice whether we're going to run together or singly. And when we run together, I just talk to myself that it's a training run. I'm on my feet. It's time on feet. It's time on legs. It's going to be building fitness. So there's all those positives that I just keep telling myself about that when we're out on a training run. So that's the way that I sort of get my process to get myself to trust the process, that it is beneficial, and just put your bloody ego to one side every now and again, Tony, and just deal with it. So.
Yep. And are you the same, Peter? You just trust the process when you're getting to that point and just know that you've got the time on legs and that's helping you?
Yeah, I do. I definitely only choose plans that I trust, either the creators of that plan or the coach, and I know they've set that pace or that goal for a reason. I do worry about people on Strava who stress about what their run is going to look like to other people. I really think, honestly, nobody cares. Like, they're just happy to see that you're out there running. And I see people who, change the description to justify what they've done. And it's like, mate, you don't need to do that. It's just great that you're out running. So, if it really stresses you out, why don't you go out and just not record it, or set your privacy to yourself only if it's that bad? But honestly, I think you've got bigger issues going on if that's the problem. Don't feel anxious. Don't feel guilty. People are just happy for you that you can run. And remember how lucky you are to be running. There's lots of people who would kill to be in your position, or they're injured and they can't run. So, it's nothing to stress about. And just think that you've got to trust your plan and know that that pace is going to help you with your endurance and your stamina on race day.
Absolutely. And Luch, don't think I could imagine you getting anxious or stressed about running slow, because you reward yourself with ice cream or donuts at the end. So to you, running a slower race or a slower training run, that doesn't give you any kind of anxiety or worriness at all, does it?
No, because you've got, like, your tagline will say finish lines, not finish times. I've got one slightly similar. Every pace has a place type thing. And then I always remember, further to what Peter just mentioned as well, I'm always grateful that I can run and not everyone can. So I'm always very grateful. It's like, yeah, everyone has crappy runs. Like, don't get me wrong, sometimes it does annoy me if I'm going a bit slower than what I had anticipated to. But I'm like, I'm out there. I've done it. I can do it. And I don't give two stuffs about what anyone thinks if I'm going slow. That's their problem. It's not mine. I'm happy with it. Yeah, so I've got no problem with it at all. And for anyone that does, don't worry about what other people think, because people are trying to justify it to themselves. You've done what you can and the best you can, and that's what counts.
Absolutely. And sometimes, as Tim always says, comparison is the thief of joy. So if running slow was celebrated as much as running fast was, how do you think that would change the whole running community? Like, I know with Boston, and I talk about this quite a lot, I loved Boston atmosphere, the environment, but it is quite an elitist race. If the people at Boston were more accepting of the back of the pack runners and the slower runners, how do you think running would change as a whole? Luch?
I think it would open it up and make it even more inclusive, because something that I've often spoken about, and I still speak about, is that running is one of the few sports that doesn't discriminate, because people will be out there supporting people in the front, the middle, and the back, but it would just enhance and give the people who are not as fast as others that bit more confidence to get out there and do it. So I really think there'd be a shift from the people being focused on their times to people just focused on just enjoying it and just getting out there and doing it.
And Tim, you quite often say this 42Ks is 42Ks or 21Ks is 21Ks. You're still doing the same distance. If you're doing a 5K park run at 1 hour or you're doing a 5K park run at 20 minutes, it's still the same distance. So, Tim, I know you're very supportive of any runner. What do you think of that question of what about the celebrations?
Yeah, I think running. Anyone who runs should be celebrated because they're doing hard things, and there's probably a song in that, Tony. But I think, to be honest, it doesn't really matter. I agree with you, Peter. I don't really care what times people run a running on Strava. When I click on Strava, I'm looking at, they got out and did something. How far did they go? Oh, they went 21Ks. Great. And I have a motto that says distance beats pace, because at the end of the day, if you're training for a marathon, distance beats pace every time, unless you're struggling to get past the race cutoff, then pace might become an issue. But at the end of the day, does anyone really care if you finish in 7,567th position in a race? No. People just go, you finished the race, well done, awesome. The only people who might ask you for your time are probably those in the office that have never run a marathon before. They go, oh, what's your fastest time for a marathon? And you go, oh, don't really know, don't really care. At the end of the day, people should be celebrated just for running and for getting out there and having a crack at it. And we should be, celebrating those who are doing a bloody good job no matter how fast they're going. Like, we have a friend at the moment, she's training for a very first ever half marathon. She's going really slow, isn't she, Tara? But she's doing a really cracking effort. And for her, 21Ks is a massive effort for her just to get out there. She's never done anything like this. This is her personal challenge. What time she runs it in is no one's business.
Absolutely. And Tony, I guess because you've had some time off, you're running it. You would be the first person to celebrate anybody who runs at any speed, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but I think generally the running community is incredibly inclusive, and you look at more and more you're seeing on social media, the exact runners we're talking about, those slower ones, potentially larger ones. I tend to think the running community is relatively inclusive anyway. You look at Instagram, you're looking at all those new people out there running. The runners we're talking about, the back of the pack runners, the ones that celebrate their journey and not necessarily their times or their pace. So I look at it a little bit different. Yes, if we celebrated it as a whole community, it would open the door for many other people. But I think the door is being held open by a lot of people anyway. So I tend to think that the question's valid, but I just tend to think that we allow ourselves at times to be disappointed by some of the, I'm going to swear, wankers that are in the community, the ones that are self-interested in their PB and degrade everyone that doesn't hit their standards. But I think you've got that in just about every field of life. I wrote a book there back in 2016 called Seriously Simple Stuff to Get You Unstuck. And one of the first things I wrote in it was, don't forget the golden rule, don't be an asshole. And I just think there's wankers and assholes in the world, no matter what thing we're talking about. So I think, yes, if everyone celebrated, I think it opens up the door. But I think as a community, we are quite inclusive generally.
Absolutely. And Peter, I know you personally have done the tail for lots of marathons or paced the slower ones. And the celebrations that I see going on with you when I see you pacing is amazing. And you bring joy to every single person around you and encourage them, and to get those slower runners feeling like they're actually having fun is a massive thing, and to celebrate them. Is that how you see your pacing with that?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. That's so nice of you to say, because I really enjoy that. And I ran with a couple of people yesterday where it was their very first marathon. So I spent a bit of extra time with them and talked them through sort of the last steps and what to expect. And what I really noticed yesterday was how many of the faster runners actually stayed on course to cheer us on. I think that's something us back of the packers need to remember too, that some of our biggest allies and cheer squad are actually those faster runners who have so much respect for people that take 5.5, 6+ hours to finish a marathon. A lot of them think we are amazing. And hung around to cheer us on yesterday. I see it every time I pace. You'll see the people standing on the side of the road with their medals on. They finished a couple of hours ago and they're still out there cheering for us. So, not all fast runners are looking at us saying, why aren't you faster? They are the ones saying, you guys are amazing. You're really doing it tough. And I do see that with the pacing crew as well. Some of the 3-hour or even faster pacers think we're amazing, don't they, Luch? They always say it. They think we've got the toughest job of the day, whereas we look at them and think, Jesus, how do you do that? I think a lot of it is in our perception as well. Like, I know we look at Boston and think, oh, it's a bit elitist, but you know what? No one there ever made me feel like that. They never made me feel like I didn't belong or I was an imposter. It's a lot of it can be our preconceived, I'm not good enough. But like we've been saying this evening, if you can run and you're having a go, mate, you're good enough. So don't worry about what other people think.
And 42Ks is still 42Ks, whether you do it in 3 hours or 6 hours. And the people that are doing it in the 6 hours are doing it probably just as tough, like the effort-wise for them, as what the people that are doing it in 3 hours. So it's not always a case that, you're running slow and making it easier for yourself either. But
No.
I will ask the next question as the last question, and it is: if a runner committed to genuinely slow running for a month, so this is somebody who would run fast normally, like doesn't matter what speed it is, but fast for them, and they generally ran slow for 1 month, what do you think they'd notice for both mentally, physically, emotionally? What do you reckon, Tony?
I think they'd enjoy it a lot more. They'd be a lot less sore. They'd be recovering pretty well. And I think from a pace perspective, they're going to be a lot less stressed and a lot more confident in just showing up and getting the job done. So I think it's healthier for them.
Perfect answer. Luch, you've got similar answer, I'm assuming?
Very, very similar to Tony. And then I think they probably have an appreciation for people, a better appreciation for the back of the pack runners to kind of run in their shoes.
Yep. Peter?
Yeah, I think I hear a lot of anecdotes, because I follow people like Floris Gearman, who has the Personal Best program, and Phil Maffetone's, math method. And a lot of runners will say, well, I'm very frustrated walking at first. If they stick with it and just push through those first 2 weeks of ego crushing, they will realize how much it benefits their running. And all of a sudden you actually start to take in your surroundings and notice how beautiful the environment is and see things you've never seen before on your run, because you're usually thinking about pace and splits and PBs and whatnot. So yeah, I think while it might be hard to do it first, the benefits would far outweigh any negatives.
And Tim, you say similar things, like you enjoy running slow with me because you actually get to see what I see on a run and enjoy the scenery a lot, don't you?
Yeah, I definitely take in a lot more of my surroundings. I'm more conscious of the people, the trees, the surroundings, I guess, around me. But I think I agree with you, Peter. I agree with everyone else as well. But I think at the end of the day, it's tough. If you're a faster runner and you genuinely slow down for a month, it's going to be tough for the first 3 or 4 efforts that you put in, first couple of days, and it will be hard for you to commit to it. But there will be benefits at the end of it, that's for sure.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. So that was quite a lot of fun, but hopefully our listeners have learnt a lot and can feel a little bit more comfortable slowing down on your runs as well. Now, before we jump into Tony's tip tonight, it's time for Lucia's last clue. So hopefully we can guess this trivia question for now. What is it, Lucia?
Okay, so just to recap, icon of Australian running. Clue number 1. We've all met this icon of Australian running. I believe this second clue, this icon has several 6-star medals. Final clue. This icon has provided all of us with support in critical stages of our majors journey.
Can I guess?
Go for it.
Is it Skippy?
Yes!
Yes!
Good one, Luch.
And for those of you who don't know, Lucia, tell everyone who Skippy is.
So Skippy for our good friends at Travelling Fit, at each race at each trip they do, whether it's a major, non-major, dopey, whatever, they always have Skippy. Skippy is an inflatable kangaroo. You will see Skippy before you see the Travelling Fit flag. And just seeing Skippy, you're going to get big hugs from the guy at Travelling Fit. He's just brilliant. He does nothing, but he's just brilliant. It's a piece of home. So it just gives you that bit of oomph that you need. And I'd love to know how many six-star medals he has.
I think they've been through a few Skippies, because I know Skippy was in Berlin may have got a little bit of happiness with one of our friends, Mary and I. I think they might have had to buy a new Skippy after that one. Anyway, now it's time for Tony, before we go into any more detail there, for Tony to give us his tip for this week.
Here's Tony's tip, take it or leave it. Some days you run, some days you breathe in. I've tried it wrong, I've tried it late, still cross that line at my own pace. Here's Tony's tip, no finished trick, just something I needed when I needed it.
Okay, I'm really confused about that last thing with Skippy in Berlin. That was something I didn't witness, but anyway, my tip's a really easy one that fits in with what we talked about tonight. It's about slowing down to go longer, and I guess 2026 has certainly been a year of reflection for me because it's not normal for me. So you don't have to stop running. You just need to stop needing to go fast. And I think I've heard Tim say that many times in the past. So slow it down to a pace where you can breathe, you can talk, and you can actually enjoy what it is that you're doing. And if that means slowing down to a walk, absolutely go for it. Because to me, for me, it's just about to get running again. But the goal isn't to win today. It's about still to be running tomorrow. So that's my tip. Run your race and run your pace.
I like that, Tony. Very good. So before this episode ends, we're going to head over to Peter to tell us what's happening for next week.
Thanks, Tara. Well, next week on the Flying RuNR Podcast, we're diving headfirst into one of the biggest shifts in modern running culture, the rise of the social influencer. From Instagram Reels, from Instagram Reels and YouTube vlogs to pace charts, brand deals, and perfectly filtered long runs, influencers are shaping how we train, what we buy, and what we believe running should look like. On the show, we'll unpack how this new wave has opened doors, building community, increasing access to knowledge, and inspiring people who may have never laced up before. But we won't shy away from the tough stuff either. We'll also explore the cons, including comparison culture, performance pressure, authenticity versus advertising, and the blurred line between inspiration and influence. Who benefits and who pays the price? Whether you love following runfluencers, feel conflicted, or have deliberately stepped away, this episode will challenge you to think more critically about the content you consume and the voices you trust. So as we keep saying, we are the only podcast with 5 7-star world major marathoners. And as usual, it will be another great episode, definitely not one to be missed.
Excellent. Thanks, Peter. So that's it for this week's show. And as usual, it's been another fun one. And hopefully we've given you a laugh or two along the way. We love making this podcast for you, our listeners. So why not contact us with a message on Instagram, Facebook, or email us at happyrunning@flyingrunner.com and tell us your thoughts. Let us know how slowing down your run has changed your perspective on running. Or can you not do it? Is it something that's just not possible? We love getting feedback and we'll reply to most messages in a very timely manner. So why not tell us about whether there is joy in slowing down? You can watch this episode on Spotify and YouTube or listen on Apple, Amazon, and all other major platforms. Every step counts. Keep running, and we'll see you next time on the Flying RuNR Podcast. Happy running.
Happy running.
Teach the flying runner, run far, run free. Host the 7 stars, inclusive as can be.